So I was doing some research for an upcoming video, and I couldn't believe how much steam this running back was getting and where he was being drafted. So I had to come on here, make this video, and hopefully save some of you from drafting this running back way too high. Now quickly before I get into that, gotta remind you once again, flockfantasy.com/endgame is the place to be for fantasy football in 2023. You're gonna get access to our draft course that's gonna help you crush your draft. Plus you're gonna be able to get our rankings, plus the rankings of everybody from Flock, Fantasyland, and Fantasy Stock Exchange, plus bonus videos, bonus articles, and member-only live streams that get you access to our start sit and waiver wire shows to help you pick up the best players and set those winning lineups. Check it out, flockfantasy.com/endgame, 30% off if you subscribe now. All right, so I feel like a little bit of deja vu here because last year I was saying you were drafting this running back way too high, and for about 9 weeks I looked like an absolute fool. And I thought, man, I am going to be so wrong on this running back. And you guys were definitely letting me know about it in the comments, in our Discord. And that's part of what makes fantasy football fun, right? Ragging on each other when we're right, when we're wrong. And you guys were definitely letting me know I was wrong. But in the end, it turned out I was right, and I was even more right than I thought. Because what people were missing early on in the season was that this guy was still the same exact guy he had always been. He was just on a massive touchdown heater. What happened when those touchdowns dried up? So did his fantasy points. He went from being an elite, great running back to, I would argue, a terrible running back. Barely an RB2 most weeks. In fact, look at his games after week 9 last year. 15 points, not bad. 9 points, 20 points, that's very good. 8, 9, 11, 12. I mean, yeah, those are barely RB2 numbers. And look at his weekly finishes in that span. RB13, not even an RB1. RB25, not even an RB2. RB7, nice. Then 35, 29, 36, 23. Barely one RB2 week in there. And then finish the season as the RB20. Again, barely even a running back too. And for most of the offseason, I thought he was being drafted very fairly, right where he should be. But recently, he's gained a ton of steam. Why? Because his backfield mate is no longer on the team, and people think he's now going to have the potential to realize his ceiling. But this is a foolish argument because a running back who was theoretically limiting his ceiling barely saw the field over this stretch of games. Take a look. From week 10 on, only twice did he even reach 40% of his team's snaps. Most weeks he was around that 35% mark, and there was even one week where he was under the 30% mark. So the fact that he's gone should not change your outlook of this running back one bit, but it has caused his ADP to skyrocket, and he has so much steam right now, and I don't get it. Also, everything his team has done this offseason points to them no longer being a run-heavy team and more of a pass-heavy team. No, they probably won't be one of the pass-heaviest teams in the NFL, but they're certainly going to be in the top half rather than the bottom 5 in terms of pass attempts because they already had a great established wide receiver. They went out and traded for a young, dynamic wide receiver. Then they drafted a wide receiver in the 3rd round. And let's not forget, they're paying their quarterback an ungodly sum of money. A quarterback which now is finally going to have a full offseason to get used to this team, get used to his weapons, get used to this offense. I still think Nick Chubb will be good this year, and I think around that RB12 mark is a very fair spot for him and where he should be drafted because he's still going to be a guy who's going to need to score a touchdown to have any kind of weekly ceiling. And as we saw last year, if he's not scoring those touchdowns, he's not scoring many fantasy points. Yet I was shocked when I saw that he's being drafted as the running back 6, ahead of guys like Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Ramondre Stevenson, all who I would easily draft over Nick Chubb. To me, you were drafting Nick Chubb at his ceiling because what is his ceiling? It was probably last year when he had 1,800 total yards and 13 total touchdowns. And where did he finish last year? You guessed it, the running back 6. So again, I'm not completely off Nick Chubb. I'm not saying don't draft Nick Chubb. But if his ADP is going to gain this much steam just because Kareem Hunt is gone, a guy who barely saw the field down the stretch last year anyways, that is not enough to move the needle. To me, he's being way overvalued once again, Now you know, hopefully you can avoid them and take one of these other running backs with more upside instead. So I'm avoiding Nick Chubb at his ADP, but who are 3 more studs Pierre and myself aren't drafting? Check out this video to find out.